Good morning, Reed here, back at Orchestra Farm. Thanks for joining me for my morning walkabout. And today I'm thinking about connection. I was chatting with my wife during our morning tea time, and she was commenting on, she's in like some other groups, and there's this thing around being isolated. And as far as I'm concerned, this idea of a nuclear family and I really like the term weird. I forget the name of the guy. Weinstein, I think. He's like some doctor guy, got kicked out of school. Anyway, for like Western, educated, industrial, rich, democratic, as in like there's a particular kind of like culture, society that comes from that grouping. And this notion of, a lot of us who come from that have really become much more isolated in our life, which is this lack of connection. And this mother group, this one lady was calling out people for that. And evidently, if I recall my wife's story correctly, she's from somewhere in South America. So, in some cases, that'd mean you're outside of that weird, perspective or culture. And this notion that I have been in for most of my life of seeking out places that are trying to do things differently. And a lot of times that's community related. It might be collectively living or otherwise organized in some collective sense or other. And wow, it rained here yesterday and my boots are drenched already. But this notion of I think that there's a level of like dis-ease and ill health when we are isolated. People phrase it as, it's just how it's meant to be or whatever. I'm like, no, I don't think so. This is the elderberry bush, and it's just on the edge. So exciting. And again, from our anthropocentric worldview, it's equally this thing of like putting humans on some pedestal that I personally don't think we deserve. And again, separating ourselves out, missing out on the connection of the world and all the other species that we cohabitate with. I'm sure if you've been here for a moment, you've heard me talk about this notion that like we ourselves are ecosystems. Man, these blueberries are still coming and I'm loving it. Thank you, blueberries. And this notion that on all these levels, there's these stories that purport to, be these reasons or excuses of why it's okay to feel isolated or to be doing it ourselves. And a little snake. Couldn't quite grab it. Anyway, an epic blue dragonfly. That's so great. Again, there's all these creatures that we're sharing our world with. And even that notion of sharing the world, I personally find to be false language. I'm like, I don't even personally see it as cohabitating. And I, find that my language is oftentimes not up to the task to clarify what is happening here. Because in each of those things, to me, there's still actually levels of separation that are there. Whereas to acknowledge, like, my hand is literally part of my body. And, to be a whole being isn't really to look at the separateness. It's like, to make my hand move, it's got to kind of be connected to everything else. And when we cut ourselves off from all of these other aspects of ourself or connection, there's something that we lose in that process. I'm going to go eat more blueberries. I've got a little time today. And this is why I'm, creating my side hustles, as it were, of demonstrating these different aspects of connection. Whether it's the tending, my space where we come together in a place where we can connect with the earth and each other in a more relaxed way. Like, the ideas I've heard is our hunter-gatherer ancestors, they didn't really work as much as a lot of people think they did. And so that notion of you can actually tend each other. I think of our primate relatives and how much they groom each other and make sure everyone's doing pretty good. It's all that stuff's important. I gave a friend a quick little shoulder massage, and then I busted out my massage gun and did some work with that. And just that notion of even that kind of stuff kind of ought to just be part of everyday life. And I've had points in my life where that's absolutely the case. And my recognition is I'm ready to bring that forward. Again, some holes around here I gotta watch out. And they're covered by stuff so you can't see them, which makes it impossible to see them. Anyway. Oh, more blueberries. I'm gonna skip over those. Go for the Josta berries. So, other aspects are, in my video yesterday or the other day, I spoke about how improvising allows me to split my focus between active and passive, and how it's one of the few activities that allows us to do that. Well, it's fine to improvise on my own, but it's so much funner with others, and that's where you really get that split focus. And again, that's being in connection. And so, if you've been watching this channel for a bit in my journey, you know that I just completed a course. It's actually a business course utilizing AI to, large language models, that is, to help with the business stuff. And in doing that, there's a recognition of utilizing the right tools for the jobs, and to let that help create more space for the things that we want to be doing in our life. And this notion that's out there where, the next technology thing makes us lose jobs and all that. Well, one of the things I keep hearing is this need for us to, essentially have help to be human. And over my life, that's a primary piece I feel like I've been focusing on, is what is it to be human? And our recognition of we're so much more than our physical bodies. And with that, this piece around, if that's what the world is needing, is more people to hold space, to be human, what does that mean? Well, that's also why I've got a workshop that'll be coming up probably in October called Grounding the Creative. Because for me, that's a first aspect of being human, is that we are creative. And then from that comes responsibility. And from the responsibility, we can develop freedom. And then when we are engaging in the freedom of our creative responsibilities, meaning arises. And when we were hunter-gatherers and, working with those early forms of creativity, whether it's moving our bodies to developing instruments, to, the painting on the cave walls, to utilizing all the various tools that began to come about. And I think that those artistic practices happened before the tools did. This notion of our responsibilities kicked in. And from the place that I stand, we've actually kind of lost some aspects of our responsibilities. And it shows in the degradation of our environments. Because to be truly responsible, we need to be responsible to all of our relations. To be mindful of all of our connections and our, being with each other. And I mean that both human-wise along with the greater world of relations, from the plants to the other animals, right on down through the line of microorganisms to the, interstellar organisms and presence. I'm curious how all this lands for you. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in today. If you want to find out more about me, please visit my website, bendingreeds.com. I'm thinking about maybe changing the name of my musical project, because in comparison to this somewhat more grounded aspect to my videos, my music's pretty out there. In fact, if you want to challenge yourself a bit, go have a listen. That would mean the world to me. Along with subscribing to this channel, liking the videos, and again, any comments and all that really help me out a super ton. Thanks for watching today. Thanks for being with me, and have too much fun.